Hey there, friends. Welcome to a special update on the listener's commentary. It's hard for me to believe that it's already almost the end of August and that it has been 2 months since the last update and since we finished the New Testament on the commentary. And there's been a lot of stuff happening in those 2 months. And so I just wanted to take a few minutes and give you an update on where we're at with some of the extra projects, as well as what's coming soon on the commentary as well. So, first of all, just sort of a personal note, it has been a very busy summer with a lot of traveling and guest speaking for me. And obviously, that has slowed down production of certain things. It's created other opportunities, but man, I just had a lot of opportunities to travel and speak for a variety of reasons this summer. And so I've been everywhere from late spring, I was in Alaska, and early summer, May, my wife and I were on Prince Edward Island. And so from one coast of the continent to the other coast of North America, we've covered that. Uh, I have been to Indianapolis and to St. Louis and spoken at events in those two places. Just recently got back from a trip to Florida where I was involved in a training weekend teaching people how to study and teach and preach the Bible. And so just returned from that. So been really all over the place doing those kinds of things, as well as some speaking at some churches locally, spoke at Mission Aviation Fellowship, and for sort of a special event for them where they suspend work and they have sort of a time of spiritual encouragement and some of that. And they graciously allowed me to talk about the commentary and share that with them as well as part of that. And so I was grateful for that opportunity. I think it could really be a useful resource and tool for their missionaries overseas, pilots who work for them in missions and are frequently in the air and can listen to the commentary. So I just had a lot of opportunities to travel, speak, share about the commentary, as well as just teach, train, encourage brothers and sisters all over the country. So that's been really fantastic. Specifically on the commentary, here's some things we've been working on. We have been gathering resources that we want to add to the study hub, and we've added some of those resources to the hub, but we've got them all kind of now in documents with links, and now it's just a matter of going back in and adding that, actually working with my daughter, who I'm going to kind of show her how to add stuff because it just takes a decent amount of time, kind of repetitive action. And so I'm going to train her how to add stuff to the website so she can add stuff to the study hub. And she's the one who's kind of gathered up a bunch of these resources, sermons of mine that can go with studies. We've got links to Bible Project background videos, to articles I've written and things of that sort that we can put in the study hub. So we've got all that kind of gathered up. We've begun slowly adding that. I'm going to teach and train my daughter so that we can flesh out some of the study hub a little bit more. There's also some links I want to include from a resource called Bible Places, and it has pictures with descriptions and kind of background detail. And so they have a page where they just kind of do that by Bible passage. And so I want to link those pages in there, passage by passage. And so hopefully that'll be helpful to provide some more background data. So working on gathering all that material up and doing that, and excited to begin just kind of linking that inside the study hub. And then here is really a big project that's taken a lot of time, and that is transcripts. There's been a request for transcripts, and I just think that'd be super helpful so that you can copy and paste directly from the transcript into a sermon or a lesson you're writing, or you can go back and you can, I remember he said, and you can go back and find it where you don't have to kind of pick through the audio, but you can kind of scroll through a transcript. It sort of depends what we've discovered on the podcast player you're using, how those transcripts show up. So like currently Apple Podcasts is already auto-generating transcripts. And so they're there and they'll show up as like a full document. That's really handy. And in our app, the listener's commentary app that we have created, that's the way the transcripts are going to look. They're going to look exactly the way they do in Apple Podcasts, we have actually reverse engineered how they're generating that. That has made it a lot easier for us to add these transcripts the way we want to add them. And so the app will look exactly like Apple Podcasts, full page transcript once we get that set up. And then depending on your podcast player, like the Podbean app, which Podbean is the hosting site for the commentary, it just kind of does it more like closed captioning almost. As you kind of listen, it kind of scrolls along with it. And so it really depends on your podcast app, the one you're using to listen to, how those transcripts will be organized. But they'll be super accessible in the app, the Listener's Commentary app, and then we'll get them added to the website. Hopefully all that will happen fairly soon. The challenge is there's almost 600 episodes, 600 audio recordings, so 600 transcripts. And if you're adding those manually, one by one, it would take a long time. And so we're trying to see if we can automate, create a program where we could just automate adding those, and so it can happen much more quickly. So we're working on getting English transcripts on the website and into the app, as well as into all podcast apps. And so we're going to connect it with the podcast feed so that it'll be show up in whatever podcast player you're using. So we've been working on that. That has been really great. Excited about that. But along with that, we have been working also on generating Spanish transcripts and Spanish audio. And we want to begin there. Maybe we'll do other languages in the future. We will see. But I want to start with Spanish. Part of the reason for that was several years ago when I first started working on the commentary, I was talking with a local pastor friend named Julio, who leads a Spanish congregation. And I was telling him what I was working on. And his reaction was, "Oh, could we get that in Spanish?" He said, so many Spanish people love the Lord. They're faithful. They're passionate. They just don't know their Bible, and there's not great resources for them. Could we get that in Spanish, please? And that's kind of what put the seed in my mind of maybe someday we'll be able to do the commentary in Spanish and other languages. And so we're currently working on Spanish. We've generated Spanish transcripts, and then we've been experimenting with putting those Spanish transcripts into audio generators and trying to see how accurate they are. And so then we've been kind of field testing them, having had Julio listen to some samples. I've had my pastor here in town, his wife is from Colombia, so had her listen to some, and they've given us some feedback. That's helped us refine, figure out which audio generators are working. And really, my wife's cousin is working on kind of tweaking that. And so he sat down and trying to kind of create his own AI audio generator that he has a little more control of. So he actually, once we got it kind of field tested and got kind of partially dialed in, he had a Hispanic friend of his come over and sit with him and just give him tons of feedback on what was accurate, what was inaccurate, how he could fix it, what would be better. And then he rewrote some code in the program. I don't understand any of that. I'm a Bible guy, don't get it all what he's doing. And then his Hispanic friend came back, listened to it, and basically said, man, we're getting almost perfect. And so I think we're getting really close to being able to generate some Spanish audio. And we'll then take the Spanish transcripts and generate Spanish audio that will hopefully sound very natural, very right, very accurate. And then I want to duplicate the website so that it has Spanish audio and Spanish transcripts. And we'll have the app duplicated the same way, and it'll be dynamic. So if your phone is in Spanish, then the app will show up in Spanish. If it's in English, it'll show up in English. And that's the way we want this to work. And so we've been working really hard on that this summer and field testing some of these things and just making sure they're going to look right and be accurate and they're going to be workable for everybody. So there's been a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes, even though we've been kind of quiet on recording of stuff. There's just been a lot of behind the scenes work on trying to get stuff organized so we can add some resources to the study hub, creating transcripts in English, creating Spanish transcripts, working on Spanish audio, just a lot of behind the scenes work over the last couple months while we haven't been releasing any recordings. So a lot of stuff happening. I'm praying and hoping that, Lord willing, by the end of the year, we will have all the English transcripts up, and Lord willing, we will have the Spanish version of the commentary up and functional as well. That's my hope. It's my prayer. We will see how it all comes together. There's just a lot of moving parts and a lot of details in that. So join me in praying about that the Lord would just make things come together, provide what we need for that. All of it takes time and costs money and resources for that. And when I get more of a sense of where we're at on that, I might let you know in case you want to donate and help with that, what we need for some of those projects. We're getting close to figuring out the details on some of that. So, in fact, we looked at one AI generator, and it was like it charged by character. Well, because we have 600 episodes and over 300 hours, there's a lot of characters, and it would have been quite expensive. So we're just trying to figure out the best way to move forward with some of that. So join me in praying about that the Lord would just continue to open the door for that, not only for us to get it done, but that like once we get the Spanish up and operational, I'm praying that the Lord would just open the floodgates so that Spanish Christians and Bible students could easily find it, access it, and it would just make its way into the Spanish-speaking world rather quickly. There are about 350 million native Spanish speakers worldwide. When you add Spanish speaker as second language, it's over 600 million. So there's a lot of people who speak Spanish, and a number of them have some sort of faith in Jesus, or they had a kind of a Catholic background, and I would just love for them to be able to join us in studying the Bible and learning the scriptures together, and hopefully it'll help them grow in their faith in Jesus. So join me in praying about that. Then the other thing that we're working on is Old Testament. So listeners' commentary, Old Testament. And probably won't be in the same level of detail as the New Testament for a variety of reasons, just bigger chunks. Narrative literature requires bigger chunks and some of that. But I have already begun writing out notes and plans for kind of a couple like survey introductions to the Old Testament and sort of high level, big picture of the Old Testament, so that we have that framework. I think one of the real things that people struggle with the Old Testament is not having a framework. It's just a jumble of stories and stuff. They don't have a timeline. They don't have a narrative framework, how the story works. And so put together some introductions to the Old Testament, and then working through the book of Genesis and writing down, kind of planning out, writing some notes. And so probably in the next couple of weeks, I will begin releasing episodes again on the commentary, this time with Old Testament introduction to the book of Genesis, and then working through the book of Genesis and just kind of exploring what Genesis is all about, like I've done with some of the New Testament books. So that's what we're working on. A lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of energy. My desk is piled up with books for research and study and writing. A lot of traveling and speaking. So it's been a very busy summer, hence the reason things have been a little silent and I haven't given an update in between. But thought this was a good time to let you know where we're at, and that very soon we'll be releasing episodes, at least fairly regularly again, as we work through Genesis and then just continue through the Torah, through the 5 books of the Pentateuch: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. That's where we'll start with the Old Testament, and then we'll see where we go from there. So hope that's helpful to you, just to have a sense of what's been going on. I am super grateful to those of you who faithfully support this ministry, both financially and prayerfully. God is bearing good fruit. In fact, when I was in Florida just a couple days ago at this training event, I had a preacher from Jacksonville, Florida, come up to me and say, "Hey, I want you to know I learned about your commentary through a podcast, and I have been using it, and it's been a real blessing to my ministry and to my life." And that was just super encouraging. I had never met this man before, and he has been using my commentary, and we got to meet here at this event in Florida. And the Lord is just bearing good fruit through the commentary all over the place, and I'm super grateful for that. That's only possible because of the generosity and kingdom vision of people like you. So thanks a ton for your support. Thanks a ton for your prayers. Join me in continuing to pray for the commentary, for open doors, for the Lord to have more people, help more people discover it. I've found that one of the best ways that happens is when people recommend it on their own platform, whether they have a podcast, YouTube channel, or even on their social media. That seems to be the best way people find it. And when people have obviously a bigger platform, that really helps. And so I'm just praying for the Lord to open up those doors and for more people to recommend it, for more people to find it, so that it can be useful and help more people learn and live the Bible. So thanks a ton for your support. And if you want to join the team of supporters, just go to listenerscommentary.com, click the Give button. It'll redirect you to my page at World Family Mission. And the donations are received through PayPal for them. It's a registered nonprofit. And you can put in a dollar amount, and then there's a little box that says make this monthly. So if you want it to be a recurring monthly donation, just click that box. It'll make it a monthly donation. So thanks a ton for your support. May God bless you. Looking forward to sharing more with you in the weeks ahead. God bless and take care.